And you have me pinned, so I'm the only one? Perfect. Thank you, everybody in internet land and the people around. All right, so tonight's talk, I know a lot of people want to hear, it's how to stop and reverse the aging process. So what we're going to get into is what aging actually is, and it's not just, it's none of that stuff. It's actually how your body responds and changes, and we'll teach you some of the biohacking or ways that you can actually help yourself slow that down or actually reverse it so that you can age and be well. One of the things that a lot of people don't talk about, but if we want to age well, the main thing is to help you be able to be cognitively there, physically there, and your immune system be there. And that's the big thing that I want you guys to understand. My goal for everybody that comes in here is for them to be in their 90s and be able to know where they are, cognitively work, bodies work, and immune systems work, not be like the average American where you end up in a retirement facility and you don't know where you are or you can't use your body. That's nobody wants to be 100 and be in that place. But if you can be 100 and you can be moving and doing the things you love, that sounds like an awesome experience. And that's my ultimate goal, is to help your friends and family members as well as yourselves be able to do these things. So when we look at what's going on, what do most people think aging is? Any ideas? Well, getting old, right? So it's time.
Things wearing out.
Things wearing out or wearing down. And so what we want to understand is that aging is not just the passing of time, but it's the utilization of energy. So how do we actually use energy? And we're going to actually get into this a lot. And you've seen this. You've seen people and you go, wow, that person is not aging well. And that means they're not utilizing energy correctly. So what are things that can make us speeding up the utilization of energy? This could be like using narcotics, being exposed to toxins, being exposed to heavy metals, or exposed to, like, say, Chernobyl. You're going to age quicker when you're exposed to toxins or environmental exposure. You'll age quicker if you're exposed to emotional stress. You'll age quicker dealing with all these things, but it has a limitation, and that's what we're going to get into. So again, aging is not just about passing of time. It's about the energy utilization or failure to utilize energy correctly. Now, when I say energy, what comes to mind? Any ideas? And my staff can answer this one. Energy. What are we thinking when we say the word energy? Vagus nerve is not the answer.
Brain power.
Brain power is close. So if we go back to biology 101, what is the powerhouse of the cell? Mitochondria, from our Latin experience. Mitochondria from our Canadian, and we can call it everything in between. But yes, the mitochondria. And what does the mitochondria produce that gives us energy? Starts with an A, middle letter's a T, and the last letter's a P. That's right. Adenosine triphosphate, ATP, and a lesser known one, ADP, adenosine diphosphate. So that's our energy. Everything we eat, protein, carbs, fiber, sugar, all of that eventually turns into ATP. But the area that it's turned into is called the mitochondria. The mitochondria is literally the indicator of how quickly you're aging. The mitochondria is the secret to youth. The mitochondria, how much energy you produce, determines how long you're going to live, how adaptable you are. And you go, what is this mitochondria you talk of, sir? And so I'm going to draw you a very poor picture of my representation of a cell and mitochondria, and you can laugh all you want, but we'll get the idea. So, well, I only know the acronym, MTCH. MITCHIT. This is, if you look at medical terms, it's MTCH, and that stands for mitochondria. I forget how to spell it. That's truthfully where I'm at. So the mitochondria, if we look at this, this is going to be the cell. And in the middle, we have the nucleus, and that's where the DNA for the cell is kept. So the nucleus of the cell is actually like the gonads or reproductive organs of the cell. It's not the brain of the cell. I'm going to go off on a little tangent and come back. The brain of the cell is actually the membrane, which is the outside of the cell, and it's how it communicates and tells the cell what to do. Now, inside of it, you have these little tiny things, and they're mitochondria. And the mitochondria, its job is to have food come in, takes it in, and then ATP comes out. Now, what does ATP do? Think of like a lightning bolt. The lightning bolt of ATP goes cell energy, cell energy, cell energy. And you say, well, what is cell? Cell is neuron. Cell is organ. Cell is any tissue in your body. So if you say, but doc, I got a thinking issue, a brain issue, that's a cell problem. That's a mitochondrial problem. Doc, I have a digestive issue, mitochondrial problem. Doc, I have a name a problem, and it's a mitochondrial energy problem. The mitochondria determines the energy production in every single cell in the body. So what we want to understand is what happens when we age is one specific thing happens. And that's going to be, what do you think it's going to be if I talk about mitochondria a lot? Do you think the mitochondria are going to get more or less? Any ideas? Less, exactly. So as we age, our mitochondrial density, or the amount of little cells inside the cell that make energy, decrease. So let's think of this as an analogy. If we have a car, and that car doesn't have gasoline, or it's running on fumes, how well does that car run? Doesn't run very well at all, right? Clunks and barely moving. But then we put gasoline in it, and it will start running really fast. That's literally what mitochondria do, is they give the gasoline to every single cell. So if you're like, doc, I have all these toxins build up, what you're telling me is your detox system, your lymphatic, your liver, your kidneys, they're not working correctly because they don't have enough energy to get rid of the toxins. That means your liver is running on fumes. It doesn't have the energy. So what would make the liver run better? If we boost it with a lightning bolt of energy, which would be more mitochondrial density. So if we increase the density, increase the amount of energy the liver has, it does everything good. It detoxes itself. It makes different energy stores better. It makes everything work better. So the mitochondria is the great energy producer, health orienter. So if you want to live longer, the number one thing that you need to do is make sure your mitochondria work correctly and have as many mitochondria as possible. The more you have, the healthier you are. The more you have that work good, the healthier you are. The less that you have, the sicker you are. So what are the things that we know make us age quicker or die quicker? Is it eating foods that are from a box or foods that come off of a plant? A box, right? So real simple. And that's because all those toxins will come in and they'll affect the mitochondria and make it die quicker. They'll make you literally lose the number of mitochondria you have. So what we need to understand about this is the cell, is that the tissues that use the most amount of energy are the tissues that have the most amount of mitochondria. So what tissue do you think in your body uses the most amount of energy? I talk about it all the time. Your brain. So your nerve tissues. They have the highest density of mitochondria because they have to literally keep using energy all the time. How about your muscles? So your muscles and your nerves have the highest amount of mitochondria. That means they have the most amount of energy usage. So if the nerve system, the brain and spinal cord, the nerve system, is not having the right amount of energy, can it communicate to the other systems correctly and tell it what to do? No. So what we're going to think about here is, if mom is sleep deprived and hungry, how well is the house going to run? It's going to fall apart. So if the nerve system doesn't have mitochondria, the body falls apart. Now, what happens over time is you can expose it to different things that will break down the number of mitochondria you have. The more you expose it to mitochondria degradation, the more problems you have. So what can lead to less mitochondria in the brain? Head injuries. What can lead to more destruction in that area is going to be things like low oxygen saturation. That means low oxygen in your blood. So what is the number one thing that we look at to see how healthy you are is what's your oxygen saturation? That's when we put that little tiny thing on your finger and it measures, and the number will come out anywhere between high 80s to high 90s. What you need to understand is no matter what level of altitude you're at, if you're at sea level or at Pikes Peak, for optimal brain function, not heart and body, but brain function, you need oxygen saturation. That means how much oxygen is in your blood to be at 97%. So why is that important? Well, if you remember that cell and that little piece inside called the mitochondria, and we look at the mitochondria itself, what the mitochondria takes in is oxygen and food. That's like protein, starch, and fat. It takes that in and it spits out ATP. And ATP makes everything work. So that means if we are limiting oxygen, the mitochondria can't work correctly. Now, we all know this, correct? We all know this because what happens if you suffocate? You die. And that's because your brain cannot make oxygen, make energy to make it actually work because it runs out of oxygen. So if you have no oxygen, you die. But if you have low oxygen, called hypoxia, then your brain gets sick slowly and you get disease and dysfunction because it can't control everything. So we got hypoxia. That's one of the things, or low oxygen saturation, that will lead to the mitochondrial getting sick. What else is there? Blood sugars. So if your blood sugars are not balanced, what's the next thing? Food. So that's sugar. If the sugars aren't correct, then the cell can get starved, and then we can get issues. So the cell can get starved by too much or not enough. Because we have to understand the mitochondria is inside the cell. So if you have insulin receptors and they can't allow the sugar to come in, the sugar's all around the cell, but it's starving. So if you have diabetes, you have sugar everywhere, but inside the cell to give it energy. So that means you have gasoline and you're literally shooting gasoline all over your car, but it's not going in the gas tank. So we don't want that. We want it to go right in to the fuel tank so we can actually use it. On the other end, if your blood sugars are too low, it means you don't have enough energy to go in and it's starving on the other end. So if we don't have enough oxygen, we don't have enough sugar, mitochondria start dying. Inflammation can cause that. So what can cause inflammation? Blood sugars can, viruses can, emotional stress can. Anything that makes your body go into fight or flight makes inflammation happen. The next thing that can cause mitochondrial death is toxins, heavy metals, mold, alcohol, different drugs, different modified foods, all of that stuff can. But the last one I'm going to tell you about is really interesting. A lack of this will actually make your mitochondria die. And I'm going to give you a hint. They have a lack of this in Seattle. What do you think it is? It's right, sunlight. The answer is sunlight. If you do not get sunlight, your mitochondria will die. That means your cells are photosensitive. So you go, okay, doc, what does that mean? It means if your cells, your mitochondria, are not exposed to sunlight, they will not actually stay healthy. So we have a trick. We have a way to make you make more mitochondria. So if we have more mitochondria, we have more energy. And if we have more energy, then that tissue heals. Now, if that tissue is your brain, it heals. If that tissue is your heart, it heals. If that tissue is your digestive tract, it heals. If it's your prostate, it heals. If it's any part of your body, it will heal. the laser that we use makes you make more mitochondria. It literally stimulates these little mitochondria to grow. So instead of having one or two in a cell, you start growing more and more. So the more of them that you have in the cell, the more energy you have. The more energy you have, the quicker that part of your body heals. So when we laser your cerebellum, which determines your balance, and you now have more mitochondria in that area, that part of the brain will stay healthy as long as that mitochondria is there. It actually grows more. Now, this is something I forgot to tell you guys. In aging, mitochondria decrease. At the age of 50, you will have half the mitochondria that you had when you were 18. So this is why, oh, well, in aging, you just don't heal as quickly. No, if you broke your mitochondria, you don't heal as quickly. But if you upregulate your mitochondria, grow more mitochondria, you heal quickly. So your aging process is determined by how much mitochondria you have. Your aging process is determined by how quickly you make energy to heal your actual body. So I told you about the things that break it, but now let's think about the things that will help it. So aging is equal to decreased mitochondrial efficiency, which means less energy, and loss of adaptability. That means if your tissue has less energy and cannot change to the environment, then it gets sick and dies. If your tissue has energy and can adapt, then it stays healthy. Well, what determines adaptability is the brain and nerve system. What determines energy is the mitochondria. So if your brain is healthy, but your liver is sick and it doesn't have enough energy, the adaptability is there, but the energy isn't there, it'll get sick. So we need your brain to be healthy, and we need your tissues to have enough energy, and then you heal. So how does this work? If we are deficient in energy in our brain, then we become stress-induced. We have autonomic imbalance, which then leads to stress response. So another way of saying this, if you don't have enough energy in your brain can't react correctly, and then you literally go into fight or flight, and then that will make more inflammation and you get sick. So what are the things that can help us heal? And what are the symptoms that we get from being in an energy deficient state? Any ideas of the symptoms we would get from an energy deficient state or less mitochondria? I talk about it a lot. One of them will be fatigue. So you'll be tired. But doc, I'm tired all the time. It doesn't matter what I eat. You're telling me that you have a mitochondrial deficiency issue. But doc, I have brain fog, mitochondrial deficiency issue. It can be multiple other things, but this is one of the symptoms. Doc, I have chronic inflammation, mitochondrial deficiency issue. Doc, I have degenerative areas that won't heal, mitochondrial deficiency. Another way of saying this, energy deficiency equals disease. Optimal energy equals healing. What happens as we age? We lose the ability to make energy. What do you guys want to know? How do we make sure we make more energy? I told you the cheat code, the first thing we went over was laser. Wherever we laser, you'll make more energy because you'll make more mitochondria. You actually increase the mitochondrial density. So when we laser that part of your brain, laser that part of your leg, you actually make more energy producing cells, which means every time you use energy, it makes it heal quicker. This is why we see people who've had multiple head injuries and we apply the laser on them. And I have one lady, I'm not going to say her real name, we're going to call her Gigi, because I have nobody named Gigi that I take care of. And Gigi has hit her head at least 20 times that I'm aware of. And Gigi, when she comes in, she can literally only see about 5 to 10 feet in front of her. And when we laser her through the brainstem and the frontal lobe, her literally vision comes back because now she's producing more energy. And each time we've lasered her, she produces more energy in that area, and it stays longer and longer and longer. In the beginning, it would stay for a day. And now that she's been doing the laser for roughly 5 months now it stays for about 2 to 3 weeks. And each time we laser her, it gets better because she's making more energy and the brain tissue is actually healing. Well, that's for her vision. The same thing will happen for gut, for hearing, for whatever tissue is not working correctly. So mitochondrial density is huge. That means the more we laser that area, the healthier it gets because it will make energy quicker. Does that make sense? Now, what are some simple tasks that you can do that will help you grow more mitochondrial density? HIIT training. And you go, what is HIIT training? High intensity interval training. What does that mean? This means that if you are somebody who is in relatively good shape and you can sprint, you can do this. If you are somebody who does not sprint and you are a couch potato, we are not starting with HIIT training. That is not going to be the way that you start because you will probably hurt yourself more than anything we need. So what does HIIT training mean? It means you do something as hard as you can for roughly 15 to 20 seconds, and then you take a rest. So that's like riding a bike as hard as you can for 15 seconds, and then you slow down, and then you in a slow pedal for about a minute, and then you do it again. So it's high intensity interval, high, hard as you can, stop. So roughly at 90% of your max is what you're doing, and then you stop for between a minute to a minute and a half. HIIT training is good if you're already doing stuff. If you're not, please don't do it because you can hurt yourself. The next one that can actually help you increase mitochondrial density, besides laser and HIIT training, is intermittent fasting. Why does this happen? When your body has less food or sugar, it actually makes more mitochondria to use the sugar that you have to make more energy. It will also use the energy correctly and make less free radicals, which are the things that make you age quicker because they break down the mitochondria and age quicker. So that means not eating for a long period of time will make you use the food you use very well. If you have a lot of it, it won't use it correctly and you can make more aging issues show up. What are other things that can help you live longer and make more mitochondria? Cold exposure and heat exposure. So cold exposure is like a dunk tank. Getting in those cold tanks, sitting there for a couple of minutes, or saunas. Hot saunas will do it as well. I personally like the heat less than the cold, so I get in the hot sauna. But if you're a cold person, do it. And if you want to go the Northern European countries, they go sauna and then they jump in the cold water and then they go back to sauna and they fluctuate. That's actually increasing mitochondrial content, which will help you flush toxins quicker. So we got intermittent fasting, we got HIIT training, we got sauna, we got laser, and now we can get into the foods or the supplements that will actually increase mitochondrial density and make it work better. So these are things like magnesium, B vitamins, B1, 2, and 3, CoQ10. We have a really good product called CoQ10 Supermax that has PQQ in it. And if you don't know what that means, it's actually a byproduct that bypasses the cholesterol med so that your brain and body will still work and the cholesterol med won't destroy you. Normal CoQ10 won't help with that. L-carnitine, alpha-lipoic acid, ALA, omega-3s. Then the ones that are super antioxidants, help your mitochondria stay healthy. And the ones that I really think everybody should be on, besides omega-3s, is glutathione. Glutathione is literally, in naturopathic world, considered the anti-aging molecule. It helps in multiple ways. It detoxifies you. It helps your immune system balance. It also will turn off inflammation in any tissue that isn't working correctly. The next thing we can talk about is antioxidant products. These are things like curcumin. We have a product called Tumero that is high in that, as well as resveratrol, or Resvero is the product we use. And the higher the antioxidant content, the better it is. It helps your mitochondria stay healthy. All right. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, to recap, HIIT training, intermittent fasting, B vitamins, CoQ10, magnesium, omega-3s, glutathione, Tumero, Resvero, hot and cold exposure, and photobiomodulation or laser usage, as well as exercise. All of these things make you make more mitochondria, which means you age slower, have more energy, and are able to detox yourself from anything in the environment that you're taking in, as well as allow the tissue to work correctly. So if your heart is weak and it doesn't have enough energy, you can have a heart attack. If your gut is weak and it's getting leaky and you can't use the energy, you can have leaky gut. So what I'm showing you is energy is the currency of tissue health. Control is the brain, energy is the usage. If you have control with proper brain function, and that's what I talk about all the time, but you don't have the energy, you won't get better. That's why I integrated a lot of the functional medicine, is to make sure that you have the energy to detox, have the energy to heal different tissues, have the energy to function correctly. So if brain is working correctly and energy is correct, we see miracles. But if brain is correct and you don't have the energy, that's why you can get stuck. Does that make sense? All right. So the takeaway is this. If you restore your mitochondria density, you restore your ATP. If you restore your ATP, you restore your function. If you restore your function, you reverse aging and you slow it down as well. So basically what I'm letting you know is if we can turn this all back around, your body heals. If we can't keep the mitochondrial content high, then problems will show up. Your mitochondria is your energy, and your energy is your ability for your body to heal. Do you have any questions for me?
Besides supplements, can you, what about, like, let's say, I'll say vegetables and things like this?
So what about vegetables? You're going to have to look for the nutrients. So if you find stuff that's high in B vitamins, like green veggies, then it will help you. If you find things that are high in omega-3s, like fish, it will help you. If you find things that are high in antioxidants, like berries that are bright, and the brighter the product is, it will help you. If you want to do things like hot or cold exposure, that will help you. So there are things to do it. It's just really hard to get high amounts of omega-3. Well, omega-3s you can get away with if you fish at least 3 times a week. But if you want to get high amounts of antioxidants, you're going to be eating 2 to 3 containers of fruit a day. And that can mess with your blood sugars as well. So antioxidants is a little harder. So you really want to look at it like if you're eating good green veggies, you're going to get some magnesium out of that. So there are normal products that you can eat. It's just if you want to supercharge it, it's harder. Like curcumin is the most researched natural product out there, but to get it in a natural form where you eat it through turmeric, you have to eat literally roots and roots of it, where if it's broken down, it'll help you. The problem is when you eat turmeric by itself, it actually is hard on your kidneys. So it's a kidney disruptor. Whereas if you eat curcumin and by itself at high levels, it will help you heal. So I'm not necessarily pushing that you have to have the supplements, but that's going to be the more passive way. If you start doing the hot and cold exposure, you're going to get it. Exercise, you're going to get it. Laser, photobiomodulation, you're going to get it. These are ways to do it, but if you want to encompass the whole thing and get the bigger result, you're going to want to take supplementation to actually push it up, because that's when you're going to get the high quantity of the products that you want. Answer your question? Excellent. So if you or a friend have things where you're like, this isn't working as well, call us. Let us know. We can help you. We have a patient appreciation week going on right now, where they can come in and get the full exam at that discounted rate. It's 20, I believe. And that's literally a steal. And it's only this week. We got Wednesday and Thursday left. So that's where we want to look at that. Think of a friend or family member who has a chronic issue. Think low mitochondria. So if that's what it is, we can literally help them move forward. If they have proper adaptability with brain and proper energy, then they'll heal. If they don't have both, then we'll find the problem and we'll be able to help them. I want to thank you guys for being here. Think of that friend or family member, give them a call, let them come in, change their lives. All right, ladies, let's end it, please.